Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and the cringe surrounding the Last of Us TV show coming out this Sunday is only expanding with a couple days left until that's released, and the access of mainstream media sites tripping over each other and themselves to praise it as the best video game adaptation of all time. If the access and mainstream media like this show to this degree, that terrifies me. That makes me believe this might actually be on par with Rings of Power and Witcher Blood Origin. Initially, Last of Us I thought was just going to be kind of generically bad, but nothing really of that level, of that scale that the fantasy shows of last year have been consistently horrifically written. Now it seems like that actually might be the case because anytime the access of mainstream media sites agree to this degree, there's going to be a problem. Just like with Rings of Power, IGN giving that a 9 out of 10 in several instances, and other sites doing the same. Anytime they're agreed to this degree, there's something wrong with the show, and it's just getting worse. And they're covering every single aspect of the show except the plot, the characters, the world building. They mainly focus on the diversity and the gay representation in the story, and that is never a good sign. I want to cover a brief amount of those reviews, but more importantly, the New York Times has an article about Bella Ramsey and her performance as Ellie, and some of it is quite surprising. In fact, they even go far to say she might even change the world in the show and in real life, specifically because she might be coming out as non-binary very soon. We got this article here from the New York Times that says, in The Last of Us, Bella Ramsey might save the world. And in The Last of Us, yeah, that's kind of the will she be the cure that helps immunize the entire population against the zombie virus. That's kind of the hope. So yes, that is technically accurate in Ellie's situation. But in the article, they start to talk about why it's a same situation in real world as much as it is in the game. Of course, this first part of the article just talks about toxic fans and how, oh my god, it's so bad. She has to go on Twitter and people didn't like her casting when it happened, and that's bad for her mental health. They go out and say both games, the original Last of Us and the one that doesn't exist, have been plagued by a vocal minority of toxic fans bemoaning the inclusion of LGBTQIA+, all the alphabet letters left, characters and other elements. No, the first Last of Us really wasn't criticized for that. People love that game. It is beloved. And of course, they have to go to that old faithful well of toxic fans trying to delegitimize any criticism against the show. We've seen this time and time again. If you don't like the show or whatever current product, the current Dory mentality that is attracting the access mainstream media and Twitter stands, then you're just toxic. You're just a bad person. It's never a legitimate perspective to dislike these prominent shows or movies. And it's just tired. It's a tired argument at this point. Going to toxic fans is not a big slap in the face. It isn't a decider, a silencer, as they seem to believe it is. And in the first Last of Us, no one really seemed to care. The main gay character from the base game is Bill, and no one gave a crap about him being gay. It worked well in the story, it was integrated well, and it was never an issue. And Ellie being gay in the DLC, the bigger problem for me was how uncomfortable it was to see two 13-year-old girls kiss. Otherwise, it was whatever. She was a little young, but whatever. And it's really more the second one that had bigger issues with the inclusion of Abby, and she wasn't gay. There were narrative reasons why people are criticizing both games, but it's all just because of the gaysies. That's the only reason people criticized it, so they're bad people. Until, of course, there's the big argument about that whole situation and how that's affecting Ramsey's mental health, but I want to get more into this section. Last month, this award ceremony nominated Bella Ramsey as the best young actor, actress, and they're like, oh my god, it's a non-gendered category. Oh my god, that's so awesome. They had a non-gender specific category. Apparently, Bella Ramsey has reckoned with her gender identity as a child. Ramsey loved being mistaken as a boy by strangers, she said. All right, so she looked like a tomboy, and so she's really excited about that. And so she might be non-binary, everyone. Ellie is going to be non-binary, apparently. I guess my gender has always been fluid, Bella said. Someone would call me she or her, and I wouldn't think about it, but I knew if someone called me he, it was a bit exciting. This is awkward, uncomfortable, considering the age that she was when they filmed all this, when they're doing all this. Technically, she's an adult now, so it's whatever. But the New York Times is marketing off the idea of her being non-binary and weaponizing it against the fans and making it seem like it's this great thing about the show. The show didn't know that she's non-binary at the time, and they didn't cast her as such, so they can't use it as some sort of diversity, virtue signaling shield, but they're going to use it anyway, and the New York Times is the one who's really going to start this. Now, if she sees non-binary as an option on a form, she will tick it. So she identifies as non-binary, everyone. Ellie is played by a non-binary actress. That's awesome. Isn't that what we wanted to hear? Isn't that what we want a whole article based on? About how her being non-binary in a show is going to save the world. I'm very much just a normal person. Being gendered isn't something that I particularly like, but in terms of pronouns, I really couldn't care less. This is what we wanted to hear in the ramp up to the Last of Us TV show. Personal lives about one of the actresses involved and them virtue signaling about the lack of gender that she feels is accurate to her current predicament. And then the rest of the argument in this article is just about how amazing that is and how she's so awesome and how she's going to change the world because she's amazeballs. And it's really just an awful article that just really wants you to think, oh my god, Bella Ramsey, she's great. And I don't have anything against Bella as a person. She's just really young, and it seems like it was an uncomfortable situation several times when they were filming that I'm not okay with watching. And it's just whatever. I don't think she's good as the role of Ellie, but I don't have anything against her. I just have a problem with the New York Times weaponizing the fact that she's confused as a virtue signaling aspect of why this show is good. That's something we've seen a lot of these different reviews. I showed one on yesterday where a whole category of the review was just like, oh my god, there's so many gay people in it. That's such a great positive in the benefit of the show. A lot of other reviews are doing the same thing. Some of them are just saying, can we unlock a new gold mine for TV? New York Times seems to think it's going to open a way for the perfect video game adaptations of the future. The Atlantic, Last of Us makes the apocalypse feel new again. They also seem to love it quite a bit. Rotten Tomatoes, it's been reviewed as the best video game adaptation ever made. That is not a good sign because there haven't been great video game adaptations, but I would say the greatest video adaptation that comes to mind right now is Arcane. Arcane is phenomenal. I haven't played the game, so the adaptation part of it I can't speak to, but in terms of actual quality, that was incredibly well written and well designed. That I love Arcane, but apparently The Last of Us is the one that takes that title, and that's rather frightening overall. But a couple of these others, it's a promising moving zombie saga. Nothing too exciting there. How The Last of Us plans to bring the zombie genre back to life. So this isn't just resurrecting video game adaptations, it's resurrecting the entire zombie genre. This is not a good sign. If access and mainstream media sites are pinning so much onto this show, including the diversity inclusion aspects of it, we're off to a very bad start. None of them have talked about the content of the story. They're just like, ooh, zombies and gay people. Zombies and gay people. That's enough to make a show the greatest video game adaptation ever. And this one, greatest video adaptation ever from the BBC as well. CNN says a similar thing. The Last of Us bucks the game to screen trend, breathing fresh life into the zombie genre. They're trying to put too much onto this show. So much is riding on it now that if people don't respond to it as implicitly as the critics have, with their 97%, went down a little bit from the initial 100%, if fans don't respond to it with this kind of overall 100%, near 100% praise, like these mainstream and access media sites are, they're going to weaponize that against the fans because of how much they say is riding on it for both the zombie genre and representation. It's going to be a disaster of untold proportions. It's going to be far worse than I had predicted over the last few months. And I just can't wait for this Sunday to see the other shoe drop and see if this is really as poorly written as these reviews and those articles defending it based on its representation seem to lead credence that it will be. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon.
Hey, yo, are you feeling what I'm doing up in here? Oh, I know you are. Do you miss all the good, compelling stories that we used to get back in Hollywood that they ain't putting down no more? I know you missing it. So check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues, baby. Book 1, Down in Flames. Book 2, Apocalypse Then. These are currently on sale. What are you waiting for? Get your hands on them. And we got Book 3, Kill the Dark, is coming down the pipeline. Just wait for all the good stuff that's dropping. You ain't gonna be disappointed, fam.